It high velocity dyno boy. Hawaiian breeze 9-inch high velocity fan. It high velocity fan. Chill out, people. What, was me imitating Dino Boy?
Yeah.
Alright.
Yep. Mandy. Who's a girl? You. Is that comfy?
Space Ghost and Dino Boy. The complete collection.
This is the 15-year update. Technically 14 and a half, but close enough because I just had the whole thing apart to clean thoroughly and relubricate. I lubricated it regularly with Zoom Spout, but this was the take the whole thing apart, clean it, polish it up. And this is the model number 25DE2149A. As you can see, it is 1600 watts. Better than any 120 volt heater you can get today. And someone to say, ooh, modern heaters are more efficient. How? They're electrically resistive heat. It's not going to be any different. How it makes the difference is how is it delivered. You run the fan too fast, it creates a draft. You run it too slow, it gets cherry hot, which none of them today do. But back on topic, this is 14 and a half years later. Yes, I use this regularly in the winter. This room I'm in is an addition, sunroom, and it's not really an issue, but if it's like during the day and the middle of the house gets warm, this may be 5 degrees cooler out here. So a little bit chilly if the furnace doesn't run. Because it's also all windows in here too. And yes, forgive a little bit of disarray working on stuff. But it's actually -3 here. Coldest day of the year yet. And the furnace has been running. Remember, it's the Carrier Green Speed 98 modulating furnace. So the furnace has been running continuously, but at its lowest rating, 40%. And it's been maintaining a perfect 69 degrees in here, even in this room. So this isn't actually necessary, despite it being -3 out. But that said, I've been using this the whole time I've had it, and no problems at all. Just oil it. And what I've been doing is taking the air compressor and just blowing any dust, dirt, and lint out of it. But this time I took it fully apart. So here it is, first time taken apart in a little over 14 and a half years, coming up on 15. Haven't blown any of the dust out yet, that's all from last season. 3/8 inch nuts driver, turn it counterclockwise, take it off on there. So unthread that. And after that it just pulls straight off. That's actually, it was a little hard to get off right there, so so I'd cut to this scene here. That's what the motor looks like with no fan blade on it. Everything still looks the same as it did back then. There it is after I blew all the dust off and actually dusted the stuff with some wipes. Got all the dust off of it. Now how you oil it is there's 2 felt pads on each bearing. You just keep squirting oil in until it's saturated. In this case, I'm just demonstrating. Actually, I already did it in the previous, before I recorded. I also tend to put a drop of oil on the bearing itself just to help out. And assembly is the reverse. I also polished the blade. And before we continue, someone's going to say, "Oh, modern heaters are safer." Oh yeah? Well, check this out. They do not even use flame retardant plastic at all. That thing just went up in flames. No, I trust this thing over anything made today. Multiple things. I mean, just look at the power cord on it. That's an actual heater power cord, properly rated. It still has, forgive the scratching post next to it, that is the original plug, which is still fine. Nothing's changed in the last 14 and a half years. And didn't have to do any repairs on it either. I highly doubt a modern heater would make it. And people are going to say, "You give all this older heaters aren't as safe." This thing, even if it were to overheat by itself, is not going to catch fire. But again, I would trust this over anything made today. I've never had an issue with it. Interesting, it has stops on it too. This is tiltable. You can go down, stops, goes up, and there's a stop right there. So we can tilt it any way you like between those positions. Those stops are there for obvious reasons, because you don't want to throw heat on to all the way directly facing down. For those of you wondering, this is made by Dominion. And in addition to it being a Dominion, there's also just a fan-only version. So to start, here's cooling. Very quiet even on that. Original switch. Up, we had a power blip. That was my UPS that clicked in the background. It's very windy here. Wind chill's like minus 24. Now, I'll put on heat mode. Yes, the heating elements actually glow on this. But when it's in heating mode, it is very quiet, just ever so slight air noise. But the air movement, look how big a diameter the blades are and how far it pushes the air out. This thing heats a room very well. Again, it's how you're distributing the heat, in addition to it being resistive heating. Now, its location is almost to where it was back in September 2008, which would have been right there, closer to the wall, back when this room had the wood paneling. And those are going to say, "Why'd you take the wood paneling out?" I'm going to explain this in other videos. they did something odd. This room was like finished with insulation and everything, but there was nothing behind that wood paneling. It was an 1/8 inch thick flexible stuff, and the whole wall just flexed. It was bad. That's the only reason why I ripped it out and redid the room like this, and even made built-in bookshelves here. And Thursday morning, that is my desk, and that is Whittle Dude Andy. And my UPS is down there. But what you hear, that's it. This is how things are supposed to be made. Not designed to fail. And this is better for the environment because you're not throwing the thing away. And then someone's going to argue and say, oh, that's how businesses make their money. If you make things last forever, they're not going to make any money. There's your problem, corporate greed. And that's why I get pissed off about that. I don't do this for the money. I do it to preserve. At one time, these were works of art. Maybe not considered at the time, but nowadays they are. You're never going to find anything like this today. So now, I'm going to shut it. Now, I always like to run it on cooling when I first shut it down, so we'll just do that. Yeah, and then I'll just click it. Now, the one thing I'm going to do now is I will put another microphone directly in behind the unit so you can hear. It does have a pretty cool startup sound on fan only. And then I'll also show how loud it is directly up against it on heating mode. Okay, we have the microphone pretty much as close as I could get it acceptably. So now here is cooling mode. And now here is heating. Usually you get the tinging noises of the nichrome wire as it heats up. I mean, this thing throws the air pretty far and still be hot, not cooled off. It distributes it very nicely. So on that note, thanks for watching.
Special shout out and thanks to Liz, our star patron.
And this is what you're going to see on the next exciting episode of Spats Bear.